Hello, time for the Luke Live Lounge but obviously a special episode with BT as well, which we will go on to explain shortly. Real mishmash of a show at the moment. Obviously, we didn't do a post-match pint after Villa's best away display of the season due to the social media boycott to do with online hate and racism, which we all thought was the right thing to do. So we didn't want to actually do a post-match pint because we feel it belittles the stand a little bit. So we've also got BT involved in this video because they've also got an online hate campaign called Draw the Line that we will talk about later on in the show. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, we're going to go through the Everton game, talk about the BT campaign, and we're also going to look ahead to Man U on Sunday at Villa Park as well. I'm joined by Omar from the Villa Talks podcast. Omar, thanks ever so much for joining me, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. Yeah, I'm just getting over an ear infection. So
oh.
Just recovering a little bit, but yeah, I'm fine, mate, as well as can be, really. I'm sure there's plenty of people worse off than me, so yeah, I'm all right, mate.
Having headphones in, it will no doubt help the ear infection. No, that's probably not what you needed this evening. So
I did just put my headphones in, and it did ache a bit, so you have to bear with me today, mate.
Your ear infection over the weekend when Villa played so well?
I did, but I managed to. I was sort of the first 10 minutes, I was really struggling to watch it, but then the painkillers kicked in, and I was fine, and then thoroughly enjoyed the game after that.
Yeah, let's talk about the Everton game at Goodison Park. I think it was Villa's most complete away performance of the season. You could probably argue Arsenal at the Emirates was up there as well, but without Jack playing, there was just something about this performance that probably made it my favourite away day of the season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely our best performance since Crystal Palace at home. I probably agree with the sort of complete performance away from home. Let's not forget this is an Everton side who are pushing for Europe. It's a team that's being built to challenge the top four, numerous big name signings, and obviously I know Rodriguez was missing as well, but we were missing our talisman, and we've been struggling massively of late to put that performance in. I didn't expect it, but it was a fantastic performance. But back to front, really, I couldn't really fault anyone in the entire team. I was saying at halftime, I was thinking, oh, guys, he needs to step it up because he obviously lost the ball quite a bit early on, and then did he step up? And it was much better second half, and then obviously scored the winner as well. So yeah, every single player, brilliant.
I mean, the first question I'm going to ask you is, where's that been without Jack? Because we've needed a few displays like that, and they just haven't come. It felt a little bit like everyone had kind of lost form at the same time, and then it was like a big party on Saturday. Everyone came together and seemed to get form back.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. It was. I mean, you saw signs of it against West Brom, definitely in terms of attack. It was one of our more attacking, fluid performances in recent times against West Brom. But then you might think actually it's West Brom. They are a very poor team. Let's be honest, and they were going for it as well. So leaving spaces. So you're thinking you don't want to read too much into that kind of performance. But then that first half, I just don't know. I had no idea where it came from. I think maybe fitness, maybe COVID. Maybe players were all starting to find their form and fitness back. I don't know. It's hard to say, but it was such a good performance. So fluid, attacking wise. Defensively, we were brilliant. I know they scored from a corner, but really everything else they tried at us. We sort of. Our defenders were again top draw. Midfield, I thought Louise and McGinn finally they found that their form as well, and I think that was a massive reason why we did so well, and a massive reason why we haven't been doing so well previously has been our midfield has been so poor. But that midfield three of almost like Louise playing 6, McGinn playing like an 8, and Barkley playing like a 10, which surprised me. That sort of makeup massively helped us win that game, I think, and helped us impose ourselves on a let's not forget a pretty good Everton midfield. Sigurdsson, Gomez, and Alan. These are top players. They've spent 100 or million on those three probably, all in all, and we've spent 15 million on the 16, 17 million on the 2 that we've got, plus the loan for Barkley. So fair play, definitely.
Yeah, really, it was good to see Ross Barkley back to his best. There were signs of it against West Brom. I actually thought against West Brom, even though he was getting stick in some quarters, I actually thought he was our best midfielder in that game. And then I don't know whether it's because he was back on Merseyside, whether he's just happened to have found some rhythm again, but he was back to somewhere near the Ross Barkley that we had the first few games of the season, wasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it on the review pod, didn't we? It was a much more encouraging performance from Ross Barkley, and we were surprised he started, but he definitely made an impact in that game. And then, yet again, I thought from the moment we kicked off, really, you could see he was up for it, and he was getting involved in everything. He made tackles, which is something he doesn't really do. He's one of the worst attacking midfielders in the Premier League when it comes to the defensive side of his game. But he was making tackles, interceptions. He was closing down the ball. You looked at the end of the first half, he had the most touches and the most passes of any Villa player in that first half, and it's normally a defender like Mings or Konza who has that stat. For him to have it shows you as a number 10 the influence he was having on the game, or the amount he was getting involved in the game. And then by the end of the game, he covered the most ground. I think it was 11.4k he covered. So again, it shows it is. I mean, yeah, running stats is one of those, isn't it? I think Eden Hazard was Real Madrid's best runner yesterday, and he was hardly in the game.
Got to say, I didn't even notice he was playing until the end.
No, exactly. When he was laughing, yeah, which I didn't. If I was a Villa player and do that, I would.
You wouldn't be happy, would you?
I wouldn't be happy, no. But yeah, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's not always an indication of someone who's played well, but I thought it showed an indication of effort, at least, which is all that we can ask for from him.
It shows you, though, as well, doesn't it? That's something that we haven't had. If we'd have had Ross Barkley firing in the time Jack's been out, that was one of the reasons Ross was brought in, to take the burden off Jack. And if Jack was missing someone who can be a creative force, someone that can carry the ball, someone that occupies the opposition, and it hasn't been there. I felt a little bit sorry for him at times, because I don't think it comes down to a lack of effort at all. I just think things weren't coming off for him. He was frustrated. His fitness wasn't where it needed to be. But it goes to show you, on his day, he's a very good player. Do you think it changes things with Villa bringing him in the summer, or do you just think that's completely dead?
Oh, it's funny you say that. The first thing me and Mate talked about was, as soon as the game finished, would you buy him? Because that's what way fans are. We're a fickle bunch, aren't we? 1 minute we're like, I wouldn't even pay 5 million for him. Next minute, like, well, if we get him for under 20 million, that's going to be worth a shot. But I don't know. I mean, he's been poor for so long, and you're right. I don't think it's an attitude problem or lack of effort. People have been moaning at him or criticised him for the way he's come off, kicking a water bottle or traipsing around the pitch slowly and things like that. I don't think that's an attitude problem. I think that's him just annoyed with himself more than.
I think anyone who's played football has probably done something similar to that. I know I have.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a shame though, because people wanted proven, ready-made Premier League players. That's what they wanted in the summer, and that's what we bought with Ross Barkley. And I mean, it's not much Dino can do is when you're big. I know he was alone, but he's a big name signing, isn't he? A ready-made player, like I said, to come in. I
thought he was an incredible signing at the time. I thought this shows progress.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were Dean Smith and Jack's out, you bought Barkley, like you say, to cover him and be that attacking influence. And if he's not firing, then what can you do? What can you do? If he's your main player's not firing, then you're struggling really. You got to rely on other players, and you've got inconsistent wingers and players out of form. It's difficult, and confidence is such a massive thing in football. I mean, we'll talk about it later, obviously, in terms of online hate and things like that. And I think mentality is such an important factor in football that people do forget that. These aren't robots in the day, and who knows what Barkley was going through mentally, physically. He had COVID, issues at home. You just don't know. You don't know what's affected him. But definitely, I mean, like you said, these players, they look like a different bunch. They look like they all hit form, they all hit fitness, all at the same time. So hopefully it bodes well for the next few games.
Yeah, you'd like to see it all go well for the rest of the season, wouldn't you? My athletic colleague on the podcast I do with him, Greg Evans, he mooted that Villa might be wise to try and get Barkley on loan again. What do you think of that?
I wouldn't mind it. It's probably the way I'd go, to be honest. There's no. I don't think many people will be clamouring to sign him, because the amount of money that Chelsea want, no one's going to take a chance on him. If he'd maintained his form that he had with us early part of the season, they'd be fine. They'd probably have a bidding war. But reality is, no one's going to pay more than 20 million for him. Chelsea probably won't sell him for anything less than 25, 30 million. So a loan deal, we paid 11 million for this loan, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Something like that, including wages.
In with wages, yeah.
In with wages, yeah. So probably a similar kind of amount. It's not a bad loan signing to have, really, is it? I don't know. What do you think? Would you go for him?
I think I would on loan, yeah, because we've shown that we've needed a bigger squad, and we're obviously going to make signings again in the summer. I think we'll spend big, but I think filling the squad up with good players, and let's face it, on natural ability alone, I'm not sure Villa can go in and get people that are a lot better than Ross Barkley. If I'm being perfectly honest, that might sound stupid, but on natural ability, he's a fantastic number 10, and he's played for his country. He's played for Chelsea. You know, he's a good player. Tuchel will want to have a look at him. But then Tuchel the other day was talking at Ruben Loftus-Cheek as someone that he's always liked and compared him to Michael Ballack. I don't know whether you saw that. I'm not sure I can see the comparisons there at all. But, you know, they're both coming back. If he's talking up Loftus-Cheek, you presume Loftus-Cheek's going to have a role to play. They've got a fantastic amount of attacking midfielders already. You know, there's not many places for Barkley to go. And if he is happy at Villa, he likes it there, he can maybe have a good end to the season. Do you remember when Tom Cleverley was on loan?
Yeah.
He was really disliked by the Villa fans in general.
Yeah.
I always thought he was a neat and tidy player, nothing special. But then he had that really good end to the season, didn't he, under Tim Sherwood? And we all wanted him to stay, and then he obviously didn't. He went to Everton. If Barkley can end the season well, football fans have short memories sometimes, and I'd imagine everyone will want him back.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a sea change, wasn't there, when after the Everton game, in terms of Ross Barkley. I definitely saw on Twitter more people were like, "Oh well, you know, if he maintains his form like this, then there's no reason why we shouldn't go for him." But I think, you know, Cleverley, he scored that goal against Everton, didn't he, and did well fairly on, late on. Sorry, in his
he scored 3 in a row, I think.
3 in a row, yeah. I was actually watching that Everton game before the Everton game that we just had, but
good game that was.
Good game, yeah. Benteke scored, didn't he? I remember Delph playing. Nice to see Delph, by the way, coming on and traipsing past him, and I think McGinn left one on him as well, which was nice. But anyway, yeah, Barkley. I mean, I think we have to go for a few loans because it's going to be so difficult otherwise to, otherwise we're going to have to spend another 150 million quid on 4 or 5 big name players to then push on again. I think loans is just sensible. I know we weren't keen first year because of this weird philosophy that we've taken and stance we've taken that we want to develop our own players, which is admirable. But in reality, the Premier League, it's a different beast, isn't it? I think loans are part and parcel of football now, especially in the current market with COVID. I think you're going to see some big name loans because clubs will want to get players off their wage book for a season or two. It happens in Europe all the time. Loads of players will go on 2-year loans. You'll see it all the time, whereas the Premier League is starting to catch up a bit more. And I think Villa have to use that to their advantage as much as possible. Because if it helps us push on to the next stage, then whatever it's cost us, yes, the player might move on or whatever, but then we can then sign better players thereafter. So,
I'm not sure if there's any way we can do this, but producer Adam, I mean, I was going to say if you're listening, I mean, you have to be listening really. If you're not listening, there's definitely something wrong. If you could get a quick poll,
maybe we're not even on.
Yeah, maybe we're not even on. I mean, that has happened before. To be fair, if you get a quick poll up. Maybe ask whether you'd sign Barkley on loan for next season. It'd be interesting to see what people think. So, yeah, I've thrown him under the bus there. He can either do it or he can't. If he doesn't come up, then don't have a go at him. He's obviously tried his best. Let's talk about the other midfielders then. Let's talk about the wingers. Thought Traore was very good to start off with. He was back to his fun best, wasn't he? Yeah. I found him fun to watch on Saturday, and that's what you want from him. Yeah,
definitely, 100%. He's just... You just don't know what to expect from Traore. I think that's when he's at his best as well, when the defender doesn't know what to expect and what he's going to do the next minute. And that's the kind of player he is. He's a bit of a maverick. He's a great dribbler. And I think the key there against Everton was, and this was partly Everton's doing, is they gave both El Ghazi and Traore too much space, far too much space, and he exploited that, and they put Digne was bombing forward, and it meant there was so much space in behind him that Traore and El Ghazi work at their best when there's space. If the teams, the opposition are sort of camped out and making it easy for them, making it difficult for them, then they're going to struggle and they're not going to lose the ball, not going to do as much. But when there's space to run into, you can see the kind of skill that Traore has got in his locker when he did that to Alan, and Alan sort of tackled him. Oh. Yeah, he tackled himself. I couldn't believe it. I thought he just fell over, but then I watched it back and he's actually tripped himself up. That's how good it was. But we needed that. That performance has been. I can't remember the last time he played that well. It was probably against Newcastle, I think.
That was the game I was going to call. He scored in that game, didn't he?
Yeah, he scored in that game, and he was fantastic in that game. And El Ghazi as well. It seems like we've just got inconsistent wingers, but maybe it's just. My doorbell's going.
Is that a Christmas doorbell?
Yeah, it's still.
Did that just go run all year?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but anyway.
That's Jingle Bells, mate.
I bought Jingle Bells. Yeah, I bought the Echo Dot on the Ring doorbell at Christmas time, so I've obviously kept it on since then.
Also, who's at your door at 9:20? I'm quite intrigued to see who's going to be there.
Maybe I shouldn't go.
Maybe it's Alan after you just accused him of.
Sorry, mate. I'm just live on the Villa. It's a Labour councillor.
No, not now, Labour.
No
There's a
thanks.
bit. Also, I would say it's a bit late to be canvassing at doors.
Yeah,
At this point.
I'm not voting for them now. Sorry.
Absolutely, that's outrageous from
Lost my vote.
Labour.
Lost my vote.
Absolutely outrageous. 21 minutes past 9 at the door. Absolutely
Kids in the
disgrace.
bed, and he's ringing the doorbell as well.
Oh, that is horrifying, and he's completely thrown what we were talking about as well. Because we were talking about Anwar El Ghazi. Just throw a little stat at you: 8 goals in 12 starts. He's got winners against Wolves, West Brom, and Everton, and he got a very important goal at Chelsea as well. That's like for someone who didn't start a game until December, he might be inconsistent. He's not perfect. I mean, we haven't got many players that are perfect, to be fair, except for Jack Grealish, who is perfect, and we want you to stay forever, Jack. But do you know what I mean? That record, that's better than a lot of people that you'd say are top wingers. That record is very, very good.
Let's not forget, El Ghazi cost what, £8 million? I know we had him on loan, but Iwobi, who was playing on the same pitch, cost 3 times as much, probably more than that, 3.5 times as much for Everton, and he scored 1 goal this season. He scored 1 goal this season. And El Ghazi has given me two of my favourite moments in recent years as a Villa fan. He gave me the playoff opener, which just was like the crowd just went crazy after that, because that was a bit of relief. Just you were a bit worried about a final, and that was it. You knew we were going to win then. And then the goal against Everton last year at home, which was like our sort of statement that we were back, which was again a massive moment, amazing atmosphere. And he's done so much for Villa. Yes, he's inconsistent, and he has problems. And he, that game summed him up, because first half he was poor. He was losing the ball. He was going down blind alleys. He was sort of shirking 50-50s. And then the second half, it was a complete. I don't know what happened. He's a completely different player. He was keeping the ball. He was playing one-touch football with Barkley and Target. He was getting forward, linking up with Ollie Watkins. He wasn't losing the ball, and then obviously he scored the winner. And you can't argue with him. He scored. You're talking about the winners he scored. He's got the most points for Villa. He's won the most points for Villa of any player this season.
Yeah.
Which is
most for 10 years, isn't it? I think I saw
something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 10 years, exactly. Yeah. And how can you argue with that for £8 million? To buy an equivalent winger now, if you were going out and say, all right, I'm going to buy a winger. This winger's got 4 goals and 5 goals and 4 assists in the Premier League one season, and then 8 goals, no assists in the next season. You'd be like, well, he's probably going to cost £30 million. And we've got him for £8 million. So you can't argue with him. Yes, he's inconsistent, but if we're gonna move on and go to the next level, then he's probably going to have to be sold eventually, I think. But
there's no harm in having him as a squad player.
No, definitely. I'd keep him for another year or two, definitely.
He's still young as well.
He's still young. He's had a long career already, even for a young lad, because he's been at various different clubs. He's been, I think, in Vitesse and Ajax. He had 2 players at the French club as well. But he's got a lot of talent, hasn't he? But he just needs a bit of coaching, a bit of confidence. And we're going to come on to it later on in terms of online hate. He was obviously a key example of that, and what happened after the Stoke game. And people forget. People talk about fans have short memories, and I mean, we're going to talk on later. And I'm at fault here as well. I've had my tiffs on the internet as well, and I can understand it when people get angry about football, but directly abusing him, and after everything he's done for Villa, he let's be honest, he was the man of the match apart from maybe McGinn in that final. He got us back in the Premier League. There's so many players where we spent the same money, we spent twice as much on them, and they've done nothing for us. They haven't even done a tenth of what El Ghazi's done for us, and never received the same kind of abuse. So I think
players like that.
Yeah, and our job as supporters is to back them, isn't it? Whether they, there's nothing wrong with sort of criticizing and analyzing performances like we do on the pod, but there's a difference between that and ridiculing them. And I think it's great. It's the strength of character he's shown to get those winners, to score that goal against Wolves. It all started from there, obviously, and I think Jack was key in that, giving him that penalty, and then he's gone on a good run. And then again, he stepped up, and all the players have said always that El Ghazi is amazing in training. He scores those kind of goals all the time, and he's never sort of translated that. Normally he shoots, and he's sort of straight at the keeper or wide. There's a sort of impression of him that he's a bit of a wayward shooter, but I think he's, after only Lingard, he's the second best in terms of shots on target per 90. Which
he hits the target. It's the target. 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, and he's quick. He can play with both feet. He's good in the air. He's got a good shot on him, and he's a good crosser as well. So he's got the attributes. He just maybe needs a bit more support. As simple as that.
The mental side of things, the mental side in football is absolutely massive. And Let me tell you, we'd be a lot worse off without Anwar El Ghazi, because I haven't got the stats in front of me, but I presume he's second top goal scorer behind Watkins this season. Maybe Jack's probably third or second. I think Jack's probably third now. He's been out forever, hasn't he? Let's face it. So El Ghazi, second top goal scorer. So Aston Villa are in a far worse place without Anwar El Ghazi, and I think he's had a great season overall from nowhere, especially in terms of productivity. And when you think about he didn't get anywhere even near the bench for the first maybe quarter of the season, I think his numbers are incredible, and long may it continue. And that's the thing with him now. You always feel when he gets on a run of goals, it's going to continue. So watch out, Man.
I mean, if he gets another couple, then he'll be in double figures. And I think might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure, apart from Hurahan, which obviously he scored double figures in the Championship, but I think he'll probably be the first player since David Platt to score double figures from midfield. Which
Tails never got to double figures.
Tails never got. Barry never did. Young never did.
9. Yeah, Tails got to 9. Never quite made the double figures. Yeah, he got to 9, 97, 98.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Why do I even know that?
Because you love Tails.
I do love Tails. I do love Tails.
I love Tails.
We've been talking to him today, actually. A bit of a name drop. But you know we like a name drop. I mean, we're a channel that's associated with Chris Dolan, so a name drop is always paramount on a Villa View show. Let's just talk before we move on to the BT online hate stuff. Let's just talk about Watkins. Another goal, another excellent performance. I just think as a lone centre forward, I just think he's absolutely incredible.
What a player! Honestly, he's not missed a minute of football for Aston Villa, and he's still gunning it every single game. You know, he's non-stop. Even at the end against Everton, I think a ball went back to their goalkeeper, and he was running from the centre spot to try and close it down in the goalkeeper's area. He's miles away, and he's trying to sprint it full pelt. He's just an amazing player, and I think his attitude and determination is a big factor in terms of why he's so good. But he's got the skills as well. You know, he's a good finisher.
He's getting better as well every week.
Getting better as well, yeah. And under Dean Smith, he will get better. That's what Dino and his coaching staff do. They make players better, and his finishing has always been decent, but it's improved. But I think the best thing about Ollie Watkins is his ability to control the ball and lay it off. For he's 5'11" probably. He's not like a massive guy or anything like that, but he holds off anyone. Not just holds them off, but manages to get the ball under control and find a player. That's such a difficult thing to do for a striker of his size. His all-round game is just brilliant, and what a signing. He's worth double that, do you reckon now? What we pay for him?
You get 40-50 million for Ollie Watkins now. I think in the current market, I think he does everything that you would like a lone striker to do, which sounds stupid because in other podcasts I'm pushing for us to sign a centre forward because basically we need one, and saying some games Ollie can play out wide. A lot of teams play their main goal scorer out wide, but he does give you so much as a lone forward. I'll call him he's like a bit of a disruptor because he just disrupts defences. Like you say, he always seems to be the first to the ball. Even when you think he's not going to get there and the defender's got like a better starting position than him, he always gets there. He always holds it off, and he always lays the ball off as well. I just think he's been an unbelievable signing, and I think most people are probably. Oh, sorry.
No, should I tell you who he reminds me of?
Go on, hit me.
Dean Saunders. Back in the day,
your memory's got to be better than mine because Dino was in my first few seasons as a season ticket holder, but I just don't remember it.
I know Dino just because my brother absolutely loved him. I love Dalian Atkinson, and I just remember him, Dino, just the same as a Watkins, just non-stop running
nuisance
all the time, like proper nuisance. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go on.
No, I was going to say, I think like most people, I think Emi Martinez will probably end up getting Player of the Year. I think, to be fair, Target, there's a few that will be unlucky. Target and Concert will be up there as well. But I think Ollie Watkins would be very, very unfortunate not to get it. Is that 15 goals now for him? I just think he's in all competitions, including England. I think that is.
Yeah, it's 20 goal contributions, so 15 and 5, I think. Yeah, but I mean, he's hit the bar or the post 7 times. He's missed
goals disallowed.
Two goals disallowed. He's had a penalty miss as well. So he could have easily had 20 goals this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think next season he could hit somewhere near that. You presume that we're going to get better as well next season. I mean, imagine if Jack had been fit for the last 10, 11 games as well, you'd imagine he'd have a few more goals to his tally then as well. I think he'd be very unfortunate not to win it because everyone talks about Martinez, rightly so. He's come in and made a real difference. I think the consistency of having the same goalkeeper every week has really helped, and he's authoritative and he's one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. When you think back to our problems up front last season, Watkins has just completely got rid of all those troubles on his own, playing every minute. I think he'll be very unfortunate not to get Player of the Year, to be fair.
Player of the Year, I think he's.
I think I've talked talked myself into voting for him, to be honest.
Yeah, and you talked me into it as well, I think, and he probably talked a lot of people listening to this. I think he has to get been amazing, like better than I ever expected. But he has made a few mistakes as well, which most keepers do. And not to say Watkins has been brilliant every game, but I think the fact that he never gives up, it reminds me a bit like James Milner when we first had him. When he's playing on the right hand side when we signed him properly for Martin Hill. That first season he struggled a little bit, but he never gave up. Like he'd have bad games, but he just put a shift in, and he'll tackle someone or get the crowd up or do something. And sometimes that's for our fans who want simple things almost. That's enough.
Yeah, I mean, I feel a bit sorry for him because ever since that clean sheet record with Friedel's been talked up, we barely gets a clean sheet. He looked like he was going to be a certainty to make that, didn't he? And now it's like, are we going to keep a clean sheet again this season? Is he going to even manage to equal the record? Hopefully he does, because I think he deserves it. But yeah, ever since that was talked up, I feel like we haven't kept a clean sheet.
When's the last time we kept? I can't remember the last time we kept a clean sheet. It must have been.
I want to say Brighton, but Leeds. Probably Leeds.
Leeds, yeah.
I'd have thought that would have been the last time.
There's probably an obvious game that we've missed, but yeah, that's the last one I can think of anyway.
I mean, we haven't won that many since then. To be honest, we definitely didn't keep a clean sheet against Fulham or Everton. So I'm pretty sure Leeds would have been the last clean sheet, and that feels like it was a fair while ago. And who was it who scored the winner that day? I missed that off my list earlier.
Oh, you did? I forgot about that. Yeah, that was a great goal as well, because that was like an ice rink, and Watkins picked him out, and then he controlled that as he was falling over. So again. Yeah. Stepped up. He steps up. He's like the opposite of most wingers. He's all end product. Most wingers are everything but end product. And the other thing as well, he's for people say his attitude's not great or he's a bit of a shirker. He pretty much all the big games he steps up. He steps up in the big games. That's what he is. He's a big game player, and that's not something you get very very often from players, to be honest. Wingers especially.
Well, obviously, it's been a jovial show so far because Villa have won, and we're obviously always all happier when Aston Villa have got 3 points, but we do need to get serious now. You'll see that this show is in association with BT Sport, and we do need to raise some awareness for their Draw the Line campaign. We have got a little VT that actually we need to run that probably explains it better than I will. So if Adam, the producer, can run the VT, that'll give you more information about what the campaign is and why it's being done.
I receive online hate, I'd say, daily.
Every single day.
Probably every time you pick up your phone, you see something negative.
The worst I've ever had was 24 hours after my father passed away through, Alzheimer's, had it for 5 years. And then the next day, a tweet saying, "Has your father's body decomposed yet?" There'll always be a picture in my head of that tweet.
Even if you are really thick-skinned, when you're getting 1,000 a day, it does change your psychology somewhat. It does make you more aggressive. It does make you more snappy.
There was a period in my life where the single biggest source of stress was the criticism that was coming my way on social media. It takes over your life.
The thing that hurts most about online hate is that people are continuously allowed to get away with it. But year in, year out, it's getting worse and worse.
Certain threats trigger something else off that's really affected you in your own life. It's hard to kind of verbalise how it affects you.
You feel like you're in the middle of this storm, and it's a pretty lonely place to be.
The main reason why I'm actually speaking out isn't for people like me who have a blue tick. It's the 14 or 15-year-old boy or girl, the silent victims that get bullied online, have nowhere to go and take their lives, because that happens, that actually happens.
And I think the thing that surprised me most is how scary it is. There was online abuse coming from all angles. I've had messages saying, "Kill yourself." It doesn't feel safe anymore for me to be on Twitter. I think people think that it's just words, but it's not.
I understand why people get upset. It's an emotional game, but there's certain lines you don't cross.
That one tweet, people don't realise the consequence of it.
One message from you could literally push someone over the edge.
People are just struggling. People may see online abuse as some sort of outlet to get it off their chest, but they don't realise they're getting it off their chest and onto someone else's chest, and that's not right.
I'm Mark Alera, and our purpose at BT is to connect for good, which is why we're launching our campaign, draw the line. Over the next few months, you'll see our social media teams respond, delete, block, and report any hate speech that we see on our channels.
I think that it's really important for everyone to stand up and be an ally for those people who are under the cosh.
What kind of world do we want to live in?
We all have a part to play. It's time to draw the line.
Yep. So as I say, I think that video explains it a lot better than I would have done. I'm just going to read out some stats here that BT have sent us that are, quite frankly, just ridiculous. So online abuse doubles during high-profile football matches. I think we all see that on social media. Anyone that's on Twitter can absolutely just completely agree with that, because you can see it's there. Religious abuse increases by 65% during a game. Sexual orientation abuse is 45% higher over the average 90 minutes. Again, I've seen some shocking stuff recently in that regard. During the course of a single track match, an average of 1 in 10 abusive tweets in the UK was sent from a troll account. I mean, Omar, everything you've read there, you probably know, but it's good to see it as facts, because social media, it's been great for me. If I'm being totally honest, it's opened up a lot of doors for me and given me a lot of opportunities. But there's a real horrible dark side to it as well, isn't there?
Oh, it really is. It really is. And I'll be honest, it's put me off. The only reason I really go on Twitter these days is to post the episodes for the podcast. That's it, really. Now and again, I'll go on it a bit longer. Whereas before, probably early days, sort of 7-8 years ago, you'd go on it all the time. You'd be on it all the time. But it's just the amount of abuse, the amount of rubbish you see on there, the amount of arguing, the tribalism. Everyone wants to argue about everything. Everyone wants to take an opinion or a side and everything. No one's willing to just let things be, and then that just leads to other things. And as soon as you become, it becomes tribal, then people fight over the stupidest things, and then that's when the animal comes out, and you see this trolling, you see this abuse, and people can hide behind whatever they want, a username, a random digits, whatever on their username is. They don't have to show themselves, and that lends itself to, unfortunately, the kinds of things that you see. You look at Gabby's Instagram, you look at Raheem Sterling, what was it? Was it 24 hours after the social media boycott, he was racially abused. That it's just, and a lot of these are kids. That a lot of these are under 18. They're little school kids, and you start to think, what's going on there? What have they heard? What have they listened to? Is it from the parents, or is it online? Is it forums? What is it? And it's just, they don't understand the consequences of their actions. You're lucky a lot of these people are strong mentally and are able to take it, but there'll be people out there that are not strong mentally, and that could be the difference between them being here one day and not being here the next day. And that's the honest truth of it. And we're all guilty of doing stupid stuff and saying stupid stuff on the internet without thinking. We're all guilty of making a comment on something that we don't understand, retweeting an article that we haven't read, or things like that, or say something not abusive, but saying something going a little bit too far, maybe. I think everyone does that. But as long as you're willing to learn and become a better person, and sort of not censor yourself, but just understand the consequences of your words, then that's what we need to be the kind of situation that we need to getting at. And social media companies have a responsibility.
That's where it's wrong, isn't it? They're not doing enough.
No, not at all. And I've been on the Villa Talk forum as an example for a long period of time, and on there you have moderators, and everyone sees everyone's post, and they're, as soon as any sort of abuse or anything like that happens, which has happened to me on there, I've been abused on there before, and
join the club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know what it's like, and I didn't really understand it until I started my own podcast. And before, I would comment on things and sort of just not throwaway comments, but almost like, oh, this is rubbish, or that's rubbish, or this could be better. But actually, there's people have put a lot of hard work into that kind of stuff for whatever they're doing. They're putting themselves out there, and it's a bit like Villa players. They might have a bad performance, they might not do well one day. It's not for lack of trying. They're not doing it on purpose. And I think as soon as people realize that, and just be nicer, simple as that, really. It is simple as that. Like, what benefit are you getting from abusing someone on the internet? Like, what is that doing for you personally? Nothing.
No, I mean, this BT campaign, it's a really good campaign. I'm not just saying it because obviously that we've got them associated with this show, but I've seen that clip that we just played. I've seen it 3 or 4 times now, and it's powerful stuff. These guys are mega stars, the people talking, but they've got feelings, that they're human beings. They have bad days too. Even you saw with you've seen with celebrities in the past, they can get pushed over the edge as well. I mean, we've both got an example of stuff that we've been involved in. I mean, I'm not for 1 minute comparing myself to a professional footballer or a celebrity, but I have had stuff on social media, and some of it's been from Villa fans, which is hurtful, because at the end of the day, I'm just expressing my opinion about my football team. You don't have to agree with me. I've got no problem with anyone that disagrees with what I say, because let's face it, I say as much rubbish as the next man. I've been wrong a number of times. So yeah, call me out, but by all means. But it's the abuse and when people get personal that's too far. And it's interesting you say about it being kids, because these faceless accounts, I mean, some of them are grown adults, which quite frankly is appalling. But some of it is kids. I had someone send me a tweet. At the time, I didn't know it was a kid. It was a faceless account. I didn't know who it was. Sent me a tweet after Villa. I just got back from Sheffield. I remember the game. Just got back from Sheffield. We'd been pummeled 4-1. I had a good day actually, but not a great result. Not a great time for Villa. And I'd had a tweet saying, I'm gonna rape your wife. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna make you watch. And I was like, to be honest, I've had abuse before. I've had people give me stick. That's fine. I can deal with that. But that one, I was like, oh my God, that is serious. Like that's a threat. I don't know anything about that, but I mean, I'm not MI6 by any stretch of the imagination, but I actually managed to track this person down through social media and Facebook, and I found out who it was. And it was a kid. It was a 15-year-old kid, and I found his dad's business. I just called his dad, got his email address, sent over the screenshots. He couldn't believe, his dad, I've got to say, had no idea his child was doing this. He's absolutely mortified. He was practically in tears down the phone to me. I've got to say, he handled it brilliantly. Like the lad who done it had to ring me up. He had to apologise. He was in tears down the phone to me. And the reason for doing it was he just wanted a reaction. I mean, like I say, I'm absolutely nobody. Why would you want a reaction off me? It doesn't achieve anything. It doesn't do anything. But those words at the time when they're on the screen, I honestly couldn't believe it. That was my first proper experience of things like that. And that's the kind of thing that professional athletes, that celebrities, they're putting up with that stuff tenfold all day, every day, probably. And it's just not acceptable.
Right, it's sickening, isn't it? I mean, I didn't know that. You never told me that before, but it's horrible. Imagine I couldn't imagine how you must be feeling. Imagine your wife hearing that and listening to that.
Yeah, I had to tell her, didn't I? Because I was worried.
Yeah, of course you should. So you should be, and like I said, I'm not surprised it was a 15-year-old kid, because it's not. I'm saying it's just kids, because it's like I said, grown adults, and I've seen grown adults and the stuff that they come out with as well, and it's exactly the same and sickening as well. But I think the social media companies have a responsibility, don't they? They need to be monitoring this or putting in systems that make it a far safer place for online communities and people generally. And the internet's been an amazing thing. But sometimes I do kind of wish that we went back to the early 2000s with the internet and just had the simple times, because the way social media is now, it does put me off, and it makes me worry. I've got 2 young children, the third on the way, and I'm thinking, the social media world, this kind of social media world, is a completely different world to me. It's not something I understand, to be honest, and I would be extra careful about what my kids do online, because before it was like they're going to get into trouble, someone's going to take advantage of them. Now it's thinking that they're going to get in trouble, they're going to do something stupid, because these kids are impressionable. They probably heard it from someone, they've probably seen it somewhere, and that's it. They think that's the right thing to do. It doesn't mean that they think that, or they're that kind of person. It's just they're young kids, and that's where, again, social media companies have a responsibility to put things like ID in place and verification steps in place to make sure that everything's traceable, so no one feels like they can take advantage of the system and get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, some of those stats that I read, I mean, I'm not sat here for 1 second saying that I'm a saint. I've done things in my life that I'm not proud of. I've made mistakes in my life as well, but you got to try and learn from it. I like to think that lad that I talked about, hopefully he's learned something from that, and he's taken something away, and he'll have made a change in his life. But some people that don't learn, they'll do this stuff continuously. I think about the abuse that females take to do with football as well. I mean, think about Michelle Owen a few weeks ago when she was on Sky and she had a bit of a Chris Kamara moment. The difference between the reactions when Chris Kamara did it all those years ago and when Michelle did it on Sky, it's night and day. It's an absolute disgrace. And so, like I say, some of the stuff that these people in the public eye have to go through, it's unbelievable. And you've got an experience, haven't you, of something that you were involved in that happened?
Yeah, and this is your point about learning, and I'm not a saint at all. I've never really never really trolled anyone or directly abused anyone. That's not the kind of person I am, but mainly because I just can't be bothered. But I have done something stupid before, and this is an embarrassing thing that I'm going to say just so people understand the consequences of your actions, basically. So this was probably 4 years ago. It was about the time where Steve Bruce was in charge of his full season, and I think we'd lost like Cardiff, Reading that season. And
we lost to everyone. Let's face it. That season.
Yeah. It was like when we just like said the first 7 games was terrible, and I was just annoyed. I was, just pissed off really more than anything else. And I've never ever done this before, and I've never done it since. But I think it was Micah Richards. Either he posted something or Aston Villa posted something about him, and I just wrote in there about, he's a waste of money, or he's unfit, he's overweight, and something like robbing a living or something stupid like that. I can't remember the exact wording, but it was something like that. And I just wrote it there, and I was just annoyed about Villa. And then literally probably 10 minutes later, I got a DM for Micah Richards with the sort of a hand clapping emoji. And then from that, we had a really long conversation, and we still speak now actually occasionally, because he basically just explained to me. He said, this is what you're saying. This is, imagine my mum or my dad was listening to that and seeing someone say that about their son. And imagine, you're saying that, but you don't understand what's happening in the background. And he I'm not going to go into it now, but he then proceeded to tell me exactly what happened, why he was unfit, how he was trying, and he'd never give up. And he talked about Ashley Westwood and the abuse that Ashley Westwood got, and the fact that he was playing in the Premier League at the time for Burnley, and the way the fans had been with him. And he mentioned about how Villa fans, the players need the support. And he said, luckily, he said, this was him speaking, luckily I'm strong mentally. But imagine that wasn't a player who was strong mentally, how that would affect them. And it made me think about, now I'm thinking about it, things made me think about El Ghazi and things like that, things that were said to him. And this is me that, I'm owning up here that I learned from that. I was like, geez, that's, and I being honest, I work with football players all the time as part of my job. So this is me, 32-year-old, 31-year-old at the time, professional, working with football players, and I did it, and I got into that stupid headspace of doing that. But I learned from it. I was like, there's no way I can be doing this. What am I doing? What is wrong with me? Why have I said that? And then after that, luckily, Micah Richards was so good, and he explained everything that had happened, and he talked it through with me, and we sort of left it amicably. And then since then we've talked a bit more about things, but then obviously then everyone's seeing what had actually come out about Micah Richards actually having an opportunity to go, and the club blocked it and things like that, which now makes sense. But it just goes to show that you don't actually know what's happening. You make those critical comments or those abusive comments or whatever, you don't actually know what the story behind it. You look at Nicholas Hellenius as one example, but there's stuff about him that said, and then you find out afterwards he was going through a lot of mental issues and things like that. And there's that kind of stuff happens all the time. That's why we were talking about Barkley earlier. You don't know what's going on in the background. And I think we just need to, if you do something wrong, you do something wrong. Everyone makes mistakes, but you got to learn from it. You got to get better. And I think as long as everyone takes those steps and tries to implement those steps, then the world will be a better place, and social media will be a better place.
Yeah, and that's hopefully what these campaigns do. Hopefully they do make people think, because people need to think. I mean, I'm not going to go into it massively, but the racist stuff at the moment is that's the worst part. It's all bad, but it's just absolutely out of control now. Society's out of control, and something needs to change in society. It's not just social media; it's everywhere. But all that stuff is absolutely out of control at the moment. And just keeping it from a football standpoint, because obviously we're a football show. As you've said, these footballers, they have feelings, and you think you're going to write something that they're not going to see it. I know a professional footballer. He looks at everything on his social media. He knows what everyone is saying about him on social media. Every player will be different, but I'm telling you, if you write something bad, I reckon there's over a 50% chance that footballer's going to read that. And if you catch someone on the wrong day, you don't want to be responsible for what could happen to that person, and it shouldn't be happening. And as I've said, the main message here is that the social media companies, they absolutely have to do more, because it's unacceptable.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, but obviously something different there for the show. We'll get back to talking about Villa now, but it's so important that stuff is spoken about, because the more people speak about it, hopefully the more it's going to be eradicated, and hopefully a line can be drawn to coin the BT pun, because it needs eradicating. Our favourite opposition on Sunday at Villa Park. Man Utd come for another home game at Villa Park, don't they? The record over the years is absolutely horrific. To put this in perspective, my second season as a season ticket holder. That was the last time Villa beat Man U, and I've had a season ticket for 25, 26 years, I think now. My second season as a season ticket holder was the last time Villa beat Man U at home. It's just an incredible record.
So you would think that all over these years would have a bit of luck some way along the line to win a game. Like
It's
they
the
get a man
curse.
sent off, they get 2 men sent off, or we get a lucky penalty or something, lucky goal, deflection off a balloon, anything.
Nothing.
It's just
We just had the score. We just had the score pulled up. Absolutely crazy game going on. Roma 3, Man Utd 5-8 on aggregate. Yeah. Hopefully they're getting taken through the paces a little bit more than we thought they might do tonight.
Oh wow, that's good. Well, yeah, that's better. Well, it'd be nice if that went to extra time. I was wondering about that actually, because obviously they've got four games in like.
They've got a crazy schedule.
Crazy schedule, haven't they? So I was wondering. They look like they played pretty much they've played their first team apart from Van de Beek. So hopefully that bodes well for us. But then again, I think last time we played someone in Europe playing on a Thursday night was Leicester City, and they comfortably beat us really. So Man United, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Man United could have been in the relegation places, lost every game, and then they come against us, they'll be banging form. They're suddenly fine. They're suddenly fine every gear that they need to win. It's just one of those things, isn't it? And I'm not dreading it, but it's sort of I hope the players aren't like this, by the way. But there's been almost like an acceptance that it's not going to be our day, and that shouldn't be the way we are as fans. I think if Jack was playing, I'd be feeling completely different about it. Especially after the Everton performance, but I think with
at least we have got some momentum and confidence.
Yeah, we have, and I don't think the players will be. They'll bang up for it. They'll be well confident, especially that Warren have taken Man United to 90th minute and making them play hard. I think it's going to be a difficult one. We're at home, obviously, but I don't think home and away really matters too much. But what a season it will be to finally beat them. It'd be such a good time to beat them without Jack.
I want to be there though. I want to be there when that happens.
Yeah. It's a bit
memories.
It's a bit that Liverpool game, isn't it? With the 7-2 is like. I actually did a bit of interview for Athletic at the time, and they were talking about I think it was at the time was the pay-per-view games and all that kind of stuff, and they're saying about it was just after Villa beat Liverpool 7-2, and I said it was amazing. Like it was amazing watching them, my sort of jaws open, but the fact that we couldn't be there, it sort of did dampen my mood a little bit. And I think the same with if we beat Man United. It's just a shame if we were to beat them for us not to be there. Finally, see us beating them, but. I think we beat them in the cup, didn't we? I think it was in '99. They had Bosnich and their kids playing.
Yeah, it was like 3-0 we beat them.
But there's so many games. I mean, I remember
Ian Taylor on the score sheet.
Ian Taylor on the score sheet. Yeah. FA Cup game when we scored early on. The game
we're 2-0 up, weren't we? Phil Neville scored no own goal.
Paul Lambert Paul Lambert was it or McLeish or Houllier? It was Houllier when we were 2-0 up.
And Lambert.
And Lambert, we were 2-0 up, and then they scored 2 goals and. Again, some under Martin Hill, Machida scored that goal, and it's just
like, and Houllier, 3 managers in a row. We were 2-0. We were 2-0 up, I think.
I don't know. It's just it's crazy, but it just doesn't seem to be going for a bit. About, I mean, we're in form. Well, we seem to be back in form and playing well. We've got a great defense, so it's going to be tough ask. But the part that worries me is our wingers, because I know they were fantastic against Everton, but coming up against Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka is a completely different.
Yeah,
it's a different game. Wan-Bissaka is a cracking player, and I thought last time out Maguire handled Watkins really well, and sort of played him out the game as well. So it's going to be a difficult one. There's no reason why we can't win, especially after they've played today as well. But I don't know. I just can't see it.
It's a curse, mate. It's an absolute curse. Solskjaer could bring himself on at half time if they were losing. He'd probably score a hat trick. Honestly,
he probably will.
It's ridiculous. I remember Machida. I said this on the Athletic. Remember Machida? I only ever played against Villa. That guy. He only ever scored against us.
Didn't do anything after that, did he? I don't think.
I was at the Old Trafford game where we curled one in stoppage time. Even the season after, he popped up with a goal at Villa Park in that Houllier game from absolutely nowhere. Hadn't played all season. They brought him on and he scored. I was quite worried when I remember being quite worried when he went to Blues that we might end up playing them and that he'd probably just score a hat trick. Machida.
I went to Blues.
Honestly, there's a curse against Man U. I mean, they'll get Glazers could play up front and they'd win.
They'll get a pen, won't they, as well?
Penandes will have one.
That pen,
tread on Conster.
Those last 2 pens they've got off against us, it's just. And something like that will happen. I've got me really after a really buoyant first half of the pod. I'm feeling a bit down, but now I mean, let's be honest. We're it's going to be a difficult game, but they're going to be tired. They're going to mix up the teams a little bit, and we're firing at the moment. So you never know. And I think it all depends on the midfield again. If they win that battle, Barkley and Watkins, how we play on the counter as well, because they will push on. But there's no reason why we can't win. We've got the players there to beat anyone on our day. But we'll see.
Half of me thinks, they haven't got anything to play for, really. They're second. They're going to come second, whatever they do now, I would say.
Yeah.
They probably want to win the Europa League. They've got a lot of big games coming up as well. They might rotate a little bit. We're on decent form. We might be able to play on the counter attack, like you say. If we play like we did against Everton, there's no reason why we can't beat them. We've given the big teams some good games this season. We gave them a great game at Old Trafford, actually.
Yeah.
As well. Admittedly, we were a different kind of beast there, and obviously Jack was playing. But there's no reason why we can't beat them. It is just the curse that plays in your head because we never win, and it is like a home ground for them, Villa Park.
If we win, then I'll be dreaming of Europe again. I'll be getting the passport out. Yeah, definitely. Because we've got Everton next week, haven't we, as well? So
8 could get Europe as well, couldn't it? I've got to be honest.
I think 7.
There's this Europa conference though that I've got to be honest, I don't particularly understand. I haven't done enough research in it to see what it is, but
I think I looked at it.
Happen, I think 8th can get Europe.
I'm not sure. I looked at that because the people were saying that today, and then other people were saying it was only 7th, but I've no idea. But I mean, if we finish top 10, then that is a massive achievement. If we finish top 8, then that's an amazing season. I think that's all we can really ask for. Anything beyond that is, a bit like dreamland really at this stage. But I don't want to go over all ground, but it is like a missed opportunity, I think, at the same time as well, because a few of those games that we should have won would be right up there.
Yeah. Give me a prediction for Sunday. What I've taken away from this is we're probably going to go 2-0 up. We probably still won't win, and McAdoo will probably come on and score. That's what I've taken away from this.
I'm going to go for. I think we'll go 2-0 up. We'll go back to 2-2, and then we'll score a winner last minute 3-2.
Oh, don't.
Yeah.
Don't. Honestly, I think there was a phase where I used to have nightmares about Alex Ferguson doing his trotting celebration, running onto the pitch. And I remember the Man Utd fans, they always used to pile on the pitch as well when they score at Villa Park.
They're a good bunch of away fans though. They are.
Yeah, great. Yeah. But they loved Villa Park as well, didn't they? Because it's just guaranteed win for them.
Yeah.
Over the years,
that's why Gary Neville loves it so much as well.
Yeah.
About it, but no, we got
lost their one.
That is a shame Villa fans aren't there, because I think at this stage of the season, the way that we've done and how we've done, that could make a massive difference. But I don't know, we'll see. But this team's heading in the right direction. But if it doesn't happen this season, I reckon it'll happen next season. We'll beat them at home. It's going to come.
Yeah, well, it's got to happen at some point. It does. It's a ridiculous record. It must be the worst record that a side has against.
We'll probably win the league before we beat Man United at home.
But you know what I mean? It has to be the worst record. I don't think any other team can have a worse record against a club.
Sure it is.
Loads of teams will have beaten Man U at home over the years. Burnley beat Man U at home when they first got promoted. I remember Robbie Blake scored. So it feels like every team's done it. We've done it once in all those years we've been in the Premier League. It's absolutely scary, that record. It's an incredible record. But yeah, it needs to be broken at some point. Part of me wants to be there. But if you offer me the win on Sunday, I'll absolutely take it. I think that just about does us for the podcast. I said before we came on, we've got so many sponsors that we're almost like an F1 car. But just another shout out to Luke Roper for continuing to sponsor us through the season. And if you do want to get yourself some Luke goodies, some Luke garments, then use our code TVV20 at the checkout, and that'll get you 20% off most things. I'm going to put you on the spot before I go, Omar. Do you want to come back for the post-match point on Sunday?
Yeah, if I can, mate, I'd love to. Yeah.
Well, you answered that well. Very politicians answer that well. You didn't.
It's not that. Actually, it's like for me, mate. During the day,
I know what life's like.
I get my 2 hours to watch the game, and that's it.
That's true.
Back in it, mate.
That's true. Well, if you can, you're welcome to come on and join us for that post-match point. So yeah, if anyone watching the show tonight wants to come back and join us and watch as well, then please do. It'll be at about 4 o'clock, 4:05, probably 4:15 by the time we get started. So that's in association with Purity. So make sure you tune in to that. Thanks for watching. Thanks again to Omar. Up the Villa.